Okay, today we're going to be talking about tools for insomnia, and we're going to be looking at how to get the sweet release of falling asleep. One of the most natural and important and nourishing and lovable yet difficult things to do, especially when things are stressful and tough or there's a lot going on mentally or emotionally. Maybe it's happened for you on a regular basis where you're having a hard time falling asleep for a period of time. And that can be so hard and so difficult and affect so many other aspects of your life. Or maybe it's just, once in a while when something is up. But this and these tools will hopefully help you to cultivate a more relaxed attentiveness and a pathway so that you have something to do that helps you fall asleep more easily. Something that you can go to. It's always there. It's like, oh, I'm having trouble. Okay, try this. Right. So that's what this is about today. Tools, various tools for insomnia. I would love to hear from you in the chat box. How's your sleep been? And what is it that you think that you need? What would be beneficial? Is there an area that you could see expanding upon, something that you've done that has worked a little bit and that you feel, oh, maybe more of this? For example, breath work or meditation or something else, anything else around your sleep. Today is a little bit more broad. We're going to cover a lot of different tools and not just the sleep meditation that I usually guide. Talk about a few more things as well. So tell me what's working, what's not, what you want more of, any requests that you have. If there's been a tool or technique that you've been curious about, even if it involves movement of some kind that could help you with sleep, feel free to just drop it in the chat box and we can cover that. I want to talk about things that we can do beyond in the moment. So my expertise lies in actually in the moment, what we can do to literally unwind body and mind and fall asleep right when we need it. But of course, there are many steps that we can take during the day and around sleep to help facilitate sleep. We might call this routine or sleep hygiene or other tools. And I want to go into a little bit of that today, discussion of sleep hygiene type of activities, lifestyle activities, and things that help us. So I'll just go through a list and maybe there are some things in there that you'll go, oh, that's interesting. I haven't thought about that. I'll try that. Or something that rouses a question that you want to discuss. Okay, so Kim says insomnia for me is waking up around 2 and not being able to go back to sleep for up to 2 hours. Relaxation and meditation tend not to help. I lay for a long time until I'm angry and then I read. Ideas welcome. This is a great session for you to be involved in because here we're going to talk about other stuff beyond relaxation and meditation. So I hope that you have some insights from this. And thank you for sharing where you're at. It's really good to know that you're looking for other things beyond meditation. And meditation can help overall. It's not the best, like instantaneous fix. It's not the best for in the moment right away every time because it's a for sure true transformational tool, but that it does take some time and it works over time. It's not going to work every time, and definitely not on the spot. So good to have a huge toolbox of other things as well. I'm a firm believer that it's important and necessary to have a mindfulness and meditation practice, that it does change and help with our sleep over time. But what can we do more in the moment and around sleep? So here are some ideas. Take a warm herbal bath. And actually, I think I'm going to just share my screen with you. I have them written here. So if you want, you can take a look on the screen for this list. Okay, so take a warm herbal bath. Put a few drops of an essential oil scent that relaxes you, bath salts, or even flowers. Light a candle and soak in the quiet time. This is something that we all know about. This is a self-care activity that we've all experienced in some way. It's underappreciated and underestimated, I think, the power of returning to this simple act of taking a bath can really help to relax the muscles and shift us into a different mode, one that helps us let go more easily when it comes time to fall asleep. This doesn't have to happen right before bed. It can happen any time of day. I think taking points throughout your day to do activities that will help support your sleep, like relaxation and exercise, are really important, because how we do our day is how we do our sleep. So they are one. They are one. There's our day and our night, but really they're one. So what we do throughout our day matters. I know you know all of this, but I'm just sharing some other ways of thinking about it and talking about it. Close the bedroom door for quiet time. So tell everyone that you live with that you'll be taking some quiet time. This is not that easy to do, but if you say a specific day and time that's reasonable, and you set yourself up for that, and you set the expectations, maybe you set up an activity for the kids to do, so that they're occupied, and you tell your partner, if that's the case, like, okay, I'm going to do this. Whether it's just one time, I would start with that. Just try once and see how that goes. See if it helps you really have the sense that this is time where you get to relax versus the background guilt or feeling of expectation from another that you'd be doing something else, so that you be present. Try it once. You can also set it up regularly in your day or your week if that works for you and for the people that you live with. I really want to encourage you to do this one. We can assume that it won't work for us or for the people that we live with, but try it, because setting these boundaries for yourself is a really sure way to get what you need, and then have those other people start to get used to those boundaries, and that you absolutely deserve 10 minutes at least once a week for yourself. Next is to relax in a comfy chair with a book. Warm up with you can warm up some milk in a pot, add some turmeric, cinnamon, nutmeg, cardamom, or ginger, little black pepper. So you can warm up the milk and then bring it to a boiling point, add some spices, and then pour it into a mug and add some honey. And this is like such a yummy treat for the evening, but has a calming effect. It's also nice to establish some kind of ritual that you're doing, just like morning coffee gives you that sense of, I'm going to wake up, have my coffee, do this. What if you had an evening milk, evening tea? This is just one of my favorite treats, especially if you struggle with eating too late at night. This is a really good substitute to give yourself some nourishment and satisfaction, but it will also help you sleep. So relax, have a drink, and relax in that comfy chair with a book or without a book. So the next thing is do a fix and leave or accept list. And what this means is that um, I often have folks write things down and make a list of those things that are on their minds. You might be doing this already. It's a strategy that I've naturally found myself do in the evenings, to make a to-do list for the next day and for the week, and to prioritize those things so that everything in my mind is like going into my little notepad on my phone. And then it gets a little bit of a ranking. Like I'll do this little checkbox thing next to it if it's something that I feel I want to definitely get to tomorrow or the next day. So prioritizing your stuff, I'm sure you have your own way of doing that kind of organization, but if you're not doing it before night, it's a really helpful way to put things into place and give yourself a chance to go to sleep in a different light. Then the next step in putting things on your list, if you choose to do this, fix, leave, accept list is to put an F next to the items that can be fixed. Put an L next to the things that you will just leave for now. Maybe they can be fixed, but not for a while, or you're not sure. And then an A next to things that need to be accepted. This can be a really helpful strategy for prioritizing and helping you with the things that are there on your mind. That's definitely one that I recommend. Next, write 3 things that you're grateful for. Okay, lots of studies have been done on this. Gratitude before bed, pre-sleep thoughts. Gratitude is really helpful for dozing off, sleeping longer, and sleeping better. So just by changing your mindset, it doesn't necessarily happen on its own, though it can. You have to actually go, what am I grateful for? And conjure up those things. They can even be as simple as the sky was clear today. Okay, so it doesn't have to be something huge, but it's just the act of orienting your brain towards that gratitude that changes your brain and your body, makes you more likely to feel more grateful and sleep better. I already talked about the savoring warm milk or tea or something like that. Sing or play an instrument. So, singing really helps the stress process. You may have noticed that at some point. If you start singing along to a song in the car, you just start to feel a little bit better. Or sometimes the stress that you've been holding is pent up and you start to sing, and then all of a sudden you can start to feel what's there. Tears start coming. You start, this, I have been stressed. So singing can help to open up stuff that feels blocked or stagnant and can ultimately help us feel more free and feel better. It tricks you by breathing longer. So this is a strategy that I have used in working with people in various contexts, working with people with schizophrenia, for example, having people or people with severe anxiety is to do a singing, like do a line, pick a song that has a pretty long line to it, and then try to do the whole thing without having to breathe in. Breathe when you need to, and then start singing the next line. So you can see how this tricks you to get a longer, slower breath out because you're singing the whole line. Next, make a to-do list. So take 5 minutes to review the day's accomplishments. This is a little different than the fix, leave, and accept suggestion. And that in this case, you're just looking at what's done, what's not done. Go outside and gaze at the moon or sky. So just checking the night sky, finding where the moon is, can be a signal to the mind that the sun has set on the waking day and it's time for night. Exercise helps to do it sometime in the afternoon. That's been shown in studies to help so much in something that we often take for granted. We know this, but we don't always do it. So just a reminder to get your body moving at least 30 minutes throughout the day, get some point of movement. Call up a friend if that's going to help you actually go for that little walk or hike. Don't do it too close to bedtime, but the afternoon is really the best time. It's been shown. And then do a relaxing hobby with your hands, some knitting or baking, woodworking, drawing, coloring, a puzzle, something that shifts your mind out of work mode, but it meets your mind where it's at, which is busy, a lot going on. So give your mind something to do, but something that's constructive and gives your intellect a place to put all of that energy. Well, then you can start to wind it down. It's hard to go from doing a lot of stuff to just lying down and doing nothing. So this is like a bridge. I want to share with you this bedtime yoga position to do on the floor or do in bed for 5 minutes on both sides. And that's here where it says body. And you can see this person lying down on their side, hand and knees touching. So it's like you curl up on your side in bed or on the floor. And then you look towards your knees. And that's how you start. Like you're curled up and your knees are bent. And then you slide one hand onto your waist And then you bring your elbow back, and you can rest your elbow on a pillow or something to support you. And then there you are. That's it. This is a profoundly helpful position that I refer to as spinal twist. And it twists your upper spine because of the specific architecture of the body. So, doing it just like this, you can take a screenshot if it's helpful right now. To do on the upper right quadrant here, that shape with your body, and then twisting back. And then you let your body completely rest. So your head is on something, your elbow is on something. Just stay there for 5. You can do it even up to 10 minutes. And you'll see that this position has a profound effect for settling your physical body, releasing muscles around the spine, especially tight muscles in the upper spine, rib cage, and shoulders and neck. And in a subtle, energetic sense, what it does is it starts to calm hyperactivity. It starts to slow down your mind, and it starts to bring you into more peace of beingness. You start to feel more calm, more content, more secure, more able to be with whatever is going on in your mind without being overwhelmed by it. So if you need a place that's safe in order to just be and reflect on your day, this is the perfect position. I do this position every day at some point. It's really helpful to be with what's going on and not be overwhelmed by it because of the effects. It's also really good for grief. So consider that position and have that also as a tool in your toolbox, okay? Because you can use that really effectively. Now I'm going to come back to full screen and check in with you. So if you had any thoughts or questions come up during that mini presentation, then ask them in the chat box. Emily says, for me, it's on and off. Sometimes I just toss and turn and can't stay asleep. Breathing helps, and it's just letting my mind wander rather than focusing on sleeping. Breathing helps, just letting your mind wander while you're doing the breathing. If I understand you correctly, that I think that's what you're saying, that it gives you something else to do rather than just focusing on the sleeping and trying to drill that in, which we can't force. I'm wondering if there are any specific kinds of breathing techniques that you found helpful, Emily, or any of you. Lisa says, when I wake up, I use the breathing techniques. I may not fall back to sleep, but it relaxes my brain and body so that I feel refreshed. Nice. You wake up using the breathing techniques. That's great. That's great. Yeah. So it gives you something else to do other than adhering to whatever thought might be getting you more ramped up and less likely to be in the sleep zone. It gives you something else, even if it doesn't work automatically to help you fall asleep. There are a few that I've mentioned, so I'm going to think and see if there are any other breathing techniques that I want to offer you in this session. I forgot about the golden milk idea. Do you ever do this in the middle of the night too? I don't. I try to keep it before 10 p.m. So ideally, like stopping all food before 7 is a really sure way to help and get quality sleep. So I didn't mention that, but if that's something that's going on for you, anybody here, if you're eating after 7, that's the first thing to look at. I should have mentioned it. It's because your body is doing digesting, and that takes energy. And when you sleep, your body actually shouldn't have to be doing the digesting. It should have taken place for at least 3 hours before you fall asleep. And then your body has other functions to perform. That will definitely affect the quality and depth of your sleep if you're eating after 7. So I keep my meals before 7 and then do the golden milk around like 9 or 10 at the latest, but I usually try to do it like 30 minutes before I go to bed. So I'm starting the process of mentally intending to move in that direction. If you get up, and I won't suggest it during the middle of the night, because what I suggest in the middle of the night is actually staying in bed whenever possible, and working on relaxing and working on the practices that give, like breath work, that give you something else to do, that work directly with your nervous system to help you fall back asleep. So that's just me. I know a lot of medical professionals recommend getting up out of bed. So if that is something that you've been told to do and you are on a specific medical regimen, that you don't want to change because it's helped you to a certain degree, and you're not willing to stay in bed, then take this with a grain of salt, because you're going to do what your doctor recommended. But I suggest staying in bed and not getting up and not getting your body going again. But as much as possible, staying there and working with these practices, doing that in that moment, that gives your body and mind a chance to do what it naturally wants to do, which is sleep. I'm always singing around my apartment, but I still have the song in my head when I go to bed. Yes, I can relate. I can relate to that. Well, one way is to bring in some lyricless music and listen to something like orchestra or symphony or something without words. I like to listen to this thing called tambura. I'm going to write it out if you wanted to ever look up that sound, or even something that I mentioned on this document that I was sharing, which is solfeggio beats or binaural beats. Um, this is, I have a link to a playlist that it just accidentally linked to. Let me know if you want this from me. I've made a playlist of these beats. Um, these are really interesting, but they give you something else other than words. I think that that's really helpful. In one of the ways that it works is by giving you, your brain is listening to music, but it's not associating it with the words, which trigger that like repetitive recording that just plays over and over, like when there's a song in your head or a thought in your head. So try that. Try replacing it with music that doesn't have lyrics to it. If anybody else has any other great ideas about that, I'd love to hear. I'm sure a lot of us can relate. I usually use the breathing techniques that you have mentioned, breathing in and out for the same amount of time, then gradually breathing out longer. Okay. And slowing breaths. That's great. That's great. Breathing out slowly, longer. That's the ratio for relaxation. And that's ideal if you're pairing it with the deep abdominal diaphragmatic breathing. I took a screenshot of the milk recipe, and we'll try it in the middle of the night. I've been waking up at 3 a.m. again. I will stop food at 7. Good, good. That's a good place to start and can make a big change. Okay, I won't get up and make mine at 3 a.m. Yeah, you can experiment, Ronnie, and then let us know how that goes. Add the link to the chat for the playlist. Got it. Will do. It's just a Spotify playlist that I've made. There's specific hertz to these, what I call beats. Specific hertz that can facilitate specific brain waves to occur. Okay, so there's the playlist in the chat box if you want it. The breath work that we've gone over that I find to be the best ones, there are other techniques, and I'll share another one with you today. But the breath work that I've mentioned over and over because all these fancy techniques, it always comes back to these with me and with my students. These are the most simple and the most powerful, is the ocean sounding breath, which I've also referred to as friction breath. That's the one that you breathe with a little constriction in your throat to create a sound. And it sounds like the ocean waves or like Darth Vader. That is the top one. That the technical name for that is called Ujjayi, Ujjayi. And if you'd like more information on that, if you haven't learned that from me, then please reach out. I'd love to teach that one to you in another context or maybe next time. The second one that I want to mention is the humming breathing. Also super useful in that it works directly with the vagus nerve and therefore helps you control your autonomic nervous system. And this one is the one where you breathe in slowly and easily. And then your out breath has a humming sound, just like any pitch, any volume. You just hum your breath out. Also really helpful, and both of those can be done for a few minutes, up to 45 minutes each. And then the third one is the deep diaphragmatic abdominal breathing that we just mentioned, that Emily uses to breathe in and then breathe out a little bit longer to start shaping your breath, as I call it. Those are my top three, and then I'll share another one with you. But let me know if you have any questions or requests to dive further into any of those breathwork techniques. Marian says, in a vocal performance class, we use the out breath with an F for S for as long as possible, F or S, to build diaphragmatic strength. Yeah, that's amazing. I actually did my yoga therapy training with a previously professional opera singer, and she mentioned so many similarities. I thought that was fascinating. I don't know if she's doing it yet, but I was encouraging her to do some breathwork workshops for singers because there's so much that's aligned with that. They so work on building diaphragmatic strength and toning the vagus nerve as well to get that oomph, right? To get that fullness. So the out breath with an F or S. I've certainly used that with an S. Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that. So you can breathe out with like a as well. And similarly, it gives you something to push against to create a little bit of friction and to just siphon that breath out to be a little bit longer. I'm pretty ADHD, says Katie, and can't fall asleep if TV, music, or podcast is playing. I try the friction breathing, but I tend to get distracted by something else in my head. Anything else I can try that doesn't require tight focus? So you can't fall asleep if there's something on, like TV or music or something playing. So does that also include the guided awareness or the sleep yoga nidra meditations that I've given you? I'm curious. And also, when you're doing the friction breathing, we're all going to get distracted by something else in our head at some point. Yeah, even me, like multiple times. So it's okay when that happens. The object is to continue to bring it back. And I know that challenges your focus. And it does make it tighter and it makes it improve. But I understand that maybe you're not, you may or may not be trying to improve your focus. If you are, this is a really great way to do it. If you're not and you want more freedom and less of a rigid focus point, and you think that will help you relax and fall asleep more, then I would say this technique that I'm about to show you, you can try this one. Let's all try this together. So this gives you a little bit more physical, tangible stuff. We're actually going to use our fingers to do this breathing technique. That being said, it's one that you do before you go into bed. You might do it sitting on your bed. I'll talk about two different ways to do it. One way is to do it manually with our fingers, digitally. And in this case, you'll do it sitting upright at the edge of your bed before you lie down and go to sleep. The other way to do it is to do it mentally, where you're not using your fingers, it's non-digital, and you're imagining it, which is a little bit more difficult, but you can do that one lying down and it might work better for you. Let's see. Okay, let's practice this breathing technique. Make peace fingers with your hand and then bring those two fingers together. Turn your fingers around and then lightly place the tip of those two fingers to the space right in the center of your forehead. And then where you're touching with your fingers, relax there. Let the skin of your brow unfurl. Now what you're going to do is you'll have your right thumb, or you might be using your left hand, by the way. Use whatever hand feels better. But you'll have one thumb there available and then one ring finger. And you'll use your thumb to close that side of the nostril just by pressing the nostril lightly in towards the center of your nose. Don't press too hard that you actually move into the bone, but you're just lightly closing that side. And then you'll alternatively lightly close the other side with your ring finger. So what we'll do is use those two fingers that are available to alternate closing one nostril and then closing the other. Breathe in through both nostrils. Close your right nostril. Breathe out left. Breathe in left. Change. Close left nostril. Breathe out right. Breathe in right. Change. Out left. In left. Change. Out right. In right. Change. Out left. In left. Change. Out right. Continue this pattern in. Change. Breathe out. Changing after each in-breath. Check that where your fingers are touching your forehead, that contact is staying firm but gentle. And this is it. You're breathing and alternating your breath in your nostrils. Breathe at a pace that feels really easy and natural. You know, you don't need to count your breaths now. You don't need to make it deeper, slower. Relax your belly. So you're breathing very easily in just the right way for your body now. But changing nostrils as you do. Feel as though your breath comes in through one nostril and goes all the way up to that point in the center of your forehead where your fingers are touching. And then it goes back down and out the other nostril, creating like a pyramid, in and up to the apex, down the other side. Your breath has a stream. The stream of air, if you'd like, you can give it a color or imagine it as fluid or something. And continue for another couple of rounds. And the next time that you breathe out through your left nostril, please bring both hands back to your lap and notice how you feel. Okay, so you may feel more relaxed. You may feel more energized. That one has a way of balancing and then kind of giving you what you need. It is a right brain, left brain thing. And by alternating the nostrils, you're balancing that. You're also balancing your nervous system, parasympathetic and sympathetic. So the left nostril is the parasympathetic side. The cooling, the more nourishing, the relaxing, the calming down. And then the right side is the more fiery, active side. And that's because right nostril, left brain, left nostril, right brain, and the way that the channels cross there. So if you want to wind down and encourage yourself to get out of the sympathetic or the fight or flight, you can experiment with closing your right nostril and just breathing in and out through your left. If it's morning and you need more energy and you're feeling really exhausted and you want to do a little something before you get out of bed, you can close your left nostril and breathe just in and out through your right. Experiment with the effects. Though I would say that most of us need more parasympathetic, more calming or cooling or relaxing, more of the left side stuff. But you can experiment. I would love to know how you feel now if you want to type into the chat box the effects of that, because it's very interesting how doing it, that one for even just like 9 breaths, just 9 breaths. If I do that and I'm like, I'm just going to do a little something here before, to help myself before I lie down, just 9 breaths. I feel more content, a burst of warmth and relaxation, more like there's just a definite shift you can experience in a lot of different ways. I encourage you to share what that was like for you if you want. And then what we're going to do now is just practice the non-digital, which is useful if you're lying down in bed. It's also useful if you have shoulder pain and it's just hard to hold up your arm. More at ease and more calm. Okay. Left nostril breathing helps me more than any other exercise to fall asleep. Feel relaxed, but even more awake now. Well, good to know, if that both sides as we did it, if that gives you like a relaxed yet alert, awake way of being, that can be really useful to have that kind of energy throughout the day, right? So explore this maybe during the day and at night. Thanks for sharing your experiences. All right, let's try non-digital. You can lie down if you'd like, or just be wherever you are. Now, One way that's really helpful to visualize and imagine and work with this, I think, is to picture a couple of flowers in your hands. So you have one flower in your left hand and one in your right hand. And maybe your arms are down by your sides or on your lap, but they're resting. You can imagine the feel of a flower just sitting there, like that little weight that it carries and that velvety texture. Your favorite flower, and maybe it has a really beautiful scent. And then you're going to just open up your hand just a little bit of your left side just to expose the flower. And if it helps, you can bring the flowers in your hands up closer to your nose at first. Imagine opening up your left hand and breathing in the scent of the flower through your left nostril. And then closing that hand as you breathe out. And you're going to open your right hand, expose that flower, and breathe in the scent. And then close that right hand. Let your hands and shoulders relax. Breathing in left and out. In right and out. If the flowers help you to feel, smell, and imagine, you can stay with that. Or you're just feeling the breath in your left nostril and out your right, in your right, and out your left. You can feel even the tickle of nose hairs. You can imagine as though there's a piece of silk cloth hanging in front of your face, somewhere just out in front of your nose a few inches. And when you breathe, you're not even sending a ripple of disturbance through that silk. It stays very still. Okay. Let go of that breathing technique and breathe now through both nostrils. Notice how you feel. I always ask that, and it's really great for you to ask yourself, how am I feeling after you do any of these techniques, to just gear your mind towards perceiving those subtle benefits and those subtle effects so that you can be more inclined to do it again or choose the practice that's most useful and appropriate for you. So that was tools for insomnia. I hope that maybe you learned something new or remembered something that you already knew. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you for the Colorado State University Center for Mindfulness. It's just been wonderful to offer these, and I know that it's really needed during this time. We will take a break this next week, and I will let you know when we're starting. I just got requests yesterday to continue these. So we'll be back. We'll be back for another 6-week series, Mindful Mondays as well. So just give it a couple weeks, practice the tools that you've learned and that you've been doing. And I will be doing the same. I hope that you reach out to me if you have any questions or if you want to work in more, if you want to work more closely with me. Again, my sleep course is available for you. So it's laurenziegler.com/bettersleep. And that would be a great thing for you to dive into right now in the interim before we start up our sessions again. Great. So I'll see you soon.